Welcome back to Amazing Dinosaurs. Today I'm going to show you everything on these shelves, many of which are actually custom colored Jurassic World figures. Now this is the original figure. This is how it came in box, and I've got these two custom colored Indominus Rexes right next to it. This first one is blue, purple, and orange. It's really crazy looking, not super realistic. But over here, I've got a camo Indominus Rex figure, and I think this one looks a bit more realistic. Plus, check out all that blood in its mouth. It's as if it was just eating too. Next to that, I've got an original Jurassic World Dominion battle damage T-Rex and the custom colored version right next to it. The original coloring is like this bright orange color. It has some gray along the top, and of course the battle damage on the side. And the custom colored one looks totally different. It is a camo T-Rex. It's got bright green, some brown, some tan, and overall it just has a lot more detailing and even a bit more texturing than the original version. Next to that, I've got some smaller dinosaurs. This is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure, and next to that is a custom Hammond Collection Spinosaurus. Now these two figures are actually the exact same, but they actually added a custom spine onto this figure. And I really like how they use the classic colors for the Spinosaurus with the red along its back and on its face, and the blue along its spine too. And compare that with the original figure, which has gray along most of its body and then the dark blue top. The next custom colored figure that I have is this Terran T-Rex, and here is the original coloring for it. You can see that the original version is a bit lighter in color. It has the light brown with the darker brown along the top, and the custom colored version is a lot darker. It has a lot more battle damage than the original version, and I think this version looks totally epic. That is so cool that they added so much battle damage to it. Next up is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex, and this one I actually custom colored personally. The original version is pretty typical in coloring with the light brown and some gray specks along the top, and with the custom colored version I decided to go with a camo green color. It's still got the brown on the top and then the light yellow underbelly, and I wanted to add some sparkling clean teeth on this figure just to make it really pop. And another cool little detail, you notice that this T-Rex has a circular pupil, whereas the custom colored one that I did has a line pupil. Which one do you like more? Let me know in the comments below. Next up, I've got a Triceratops figure. Here is the original coloring. It has the clay red with the brown detailing over its body. And compare that to this one that once again I custom colored. I went for a light gray color. You can see some darker gray along the top and a slight hue of red over its body, and same along its face and the frill, and then I added these bright red horns and then the green eyes. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of that one. And next to that, I've got some more T-Rex figures. These ones are pretty old though. Now here is the original version in the tan coloring, not too much going on with the color over its body. And let's compare that with the custom colored right next to it. A whole lot brighter with the red and black spots and the bright yellow underbelly, and actually a little bit of battle damage it looks like on its neck. And let's go down to the bottom shelf here. I've got the original Velociraptor blue super colossal figure right here. Compare that with this custom colored Indoraptor figure. You can see that both of them still have the really cool golden eyes. This one, of course, has the blue stripe running down both sides, whereas this one has the gold stripe running down its side, like all the Indoraptors. Let's move to the next shelf. Here is a Velociraptor figure. I don't have a custom colored version of that yet, but I do have these two custom colored T-Rexes, and in the middle is the original version. This first one on the left was painted a bright blue-gray color. It has some evil red eyes, which is probably one of my favorite eyes, and also its teeth are painted a lot darker too. They're like almost black. Compare that with the original version, which is a typical tooth color. It's got the bright orange skin. And then finally, this other custom colored T-Rex. This one is pretty crazily colored. It looks like it's almost a fire T-Rex. Look at that, all that bright orange, red, and yellow over its body. And it has eyes that do not have a pupil. All right, so those are all my custom colored super colossal, but I've got more custom colored smaller figures up here. Over here on the left is a classic T-Rex figure. The original painting is, you know, like a normal brown color. It has the dark brown on the top, but the custom coloring really went wild. This T-Rex also looks like a fire T-Rex, which is pretty similar to the super colossal one that I have right here. It also has these streaks of orange and yellow and red all over its body. Next to that are some larger T-Rex figures. I think this one was released for Fallen Kingdom. It is a bright orange T-Rex, and the custom coloring for this one changed it to a camouflage T-Rex. Once again, with all that green, some really cool brown, tan, and black that would really make it blend into the jungle. Up next are one of my only Spinosauruses that I have that are custom colored. Here is the original version. It's from Camp Cretaceous. It has the tan body with the red spine and the red face. And let's compare that to the custom colored version right here. It still has a red face and a red spine, but it's a lot darker in color. Plus the teeth are really dirty, which I like. And like the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus that we saw a moment ago, it also has the blue rings on its spine. And one of my favorite details are the glowing green eyes on the custom colored compared to the orange on the original version. Still looks cool, but I think the bright green looks really cool. On the next shelf here, I've got the Sarcosuchus figures. Here is the original version. It has the dark brown red coloring along the top of its body and some swamp green coloring along the bottom. And let's compare that with the custom colored one that once again I did personally. This one's a bit brighter than the original version. It has some light green on the sides, the dark brown along the top, and a brighter underbelly. And some other differences that you can see are the claws on the original are not painted, whereas I painted the claws there, and the eyes on the original are a bright yellow color, but I decided to go with a more natural white color on this one. Next to that is another one of my crazy custom colored ones. Here is the original. This is a Pyroraptor. It has the red sides with the black legs and tail, and some detailing along its face. And here is the custom colored version. This one is super bright, kind of like this Indominus Rex over here. It's got a super bright red sides, and I decided to go with the blue on the legs and a little bit of blue along the top, and then some bright yellow for those special feathers right there. All in all, it's pretty crazy looking, definitely not realistic, but absolutely different compared to the original version. And over here is the Atrociraptor figures. Here is the original version. It is the white with the brown stripes and the red eyes, and not too much else going on with the color, but let's check out the custom colored version right here. This one is a lot brighter, but I think it might be a little bit more realistic in coloring than this one. It's got the bright yellow underbelly, the darker yellow sides, and the brown on top, and some dark red eyes. That's pretty cool, and I think one of the more realistic looking custom colored figures that I have. And next to that, I've got more huge dinosaur figures. I don't have any custom colored ones for these yet, but this one is actually pretty special. This is the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus. It's pretty hard or pretty expensive to get nowadays. It comes in the dark green coloring, but it still has the bright red spine and the face. Next to that is a huge Pyroraptor figure, and this one is actually battery operated. And you can actually play with and train this dinosaur. Look at that, that's pretty cool. It has a bunch of different roar sound effects. So that's pretty wild. And over here, of course, I've got a big old Giganotosaurus figure in the classic green coloring with the black striping. I've got tons more dinosaurs on display as well. Sadly, none of these are custom colored, but many of these are my newest figures. Back here is my largest Allosaurus figure. It's got the battle damage on the side. And I actually just recently bought this Hammond Collection Ankylosaurus figure. There's also a new Scorpio Venator right there. I've got an Iguanodon figure that came as a set with that Scorpio Venator. Here is the Hammond Collection Ceratosaurus. It of course has the classic red coloring on its face and its neck. And there's a ton of other cool new figures here, like the Amargosaurus figure. There's the Dino Tracker's Endoraptor right here. There's this new Zuniceratops figure that actually has an attack button on its back. And this gigantic Dino Tracker's Stegosaurus. This one actually has two buttons. The first moves its tail up and down, and the button on the other side moves its tail side to side. Moving down a level are more of my newest figures, like this Sinotyrannus figure from the Dino Tracker series. There's the Therizinosaurus, a Sound Surge Endoraptor. Over here is the Epic Attack Dilophosaurus. It's got a button on its side for the sound effects and lights. There's the Epic Attack Carnotaurus way back here, an Eocarcharia, a Megaraptor in the back. Here is the super bright Ichthyovenator dinosaur. There's the Diabloceratops figure, the Hammond Collection Concavenator, a Rajasaurus right here, a Dryptosaurus also in the back, another Iguanodon, and this super bright Atrociraptor dinosaur. Now up on a shelf higher here, I've got some more of my favorite dinosaurs, like this Kronosaurus. This is an aquatic dinosaur. Here is the Tarbosaurus. This is the Kentrosaurus. I believe this winged dinosaur is called a Dimorphodon. There's the Yangchuanosaurus dinosaur in the bright green coloring. Here's a Carcharodontosaurus. This is one of the two different versions that I have. This one is in the dark blue coloring. Also a Cryolophosaurus. I have another version of this as well. And here is a motorized Velociraptor blue figure. To the right of that, I've got some of my Funko Pop figures. Here's a Therizinosaurus, this is a T-Rex, and then a Giganotosaurus. Next to that, I've got some differently colored Monolophosaurus figures. This first one is in the bright orange coloring, then there's the dark green one, and then a dark blue one with some tan coloring along the top. On the shelf, there's also a Camp Cretaceous Ankylosaurus figure. Here is a Parasaurolophus. This one's a pretty small figure. I've got another Pyroraptor figure here. This is a pretty basic version. And next to that, a dinosaur that's much larger, the Sinoceratops. And on this last little shelf that I'm gonna show you in this video, I've got some more smaller dinosaurs. Here is the Amargosaurus. I've got the Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. Here is another Ceratosaurus figure. I think this one might be from Fallen Kingdom. And then quite a few different raptor figures. I've got the Slashin' Raptor right here. It has a spring-loaded torso that you can swing back and forth. Here is the orange Atrociraptor figure with white striping, and then some crazy-looking Velociraptors. This one is red with green stripes. Here is a classic Velociraptor blue figure, and next to that is a bright green Velociraptor basic figure. And for the final dinosaurs, I've got a Herrerasaurus with some green and blue coloring, another Monolophosaurus, but this one has the battle damage on its side, and then finally another super bright and crazy colored Velociraptor. Today, I'm showing you all of my T-Rex figures from biggest to smallest, so let's jump in. My first biggest T-Rex is this super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World. This T-Rex has a bright orange body with a darker brown top. And just like all my super colossal figures, it can swallow miniature dinosaurs down its throat to the stomach compartment that you can open it up. My next biggest T-Rex is this super colossal Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. It has a much darker body. It's got black on top, brown on the sides, and a lighter underbelly. It's got a huge jaw, and this figure can also swallow miniature dinosaurs and open them up in the stomach compartment. Next up, we've got a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe this T-Rex was called the Bull T-Rex. And this figure too can swallow miniature dinosaurs and other small stuff, and you can empty it out in the stomach compartment. Right on top here, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has some of the coolest coloring out of all the T-Rexes that I have, and it is remarkably adjustable too. You can bend the legs in all different directions, at the knees, at the ankles. You can bend the arms, you can twist the neck, and you can open the mouth, of course. Next, I've got this huge Jurassic World T-Rex with this ginormous head. This figure has the black top and brown sides, just like the super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. And this T-Rex can be controlled by moving the tail around. Back here, we've got, I believe, what is called the Terran T-Rex or something like that. The special feature on this T-Rex is the tearing action with its mouth. Swings its head around and closes it at the same time. And it's got a secondary action button to swing the tail around too. This T-Rex, also from Jurassic World, is a stompin' T-Rex. When you twist the tail, it stomps its legs up and down. And it has those cool sound effects too. Plus, as you notice with the cage, it actually breaks free from the cage just by pressing the button on its back. That is pretty cool. Here we've got another Jurassic Park T-Rex. So this is a very old figure. It's got the rubber body, and with this T-Rex figure, you can move the tail to swing the head back and forth. So it's not as advanced as the new Jurassic World T-Rexes, but it's still pretty cool. We've got tons more T-Rexes to go. Let's keep digging. This huge T-Rex with similar coloring as the first super colossal T-Rex that we saw has some pretty cool functions. When you swing the tail, it swings its head back and forth, and it has a roar function when you move the tail, and a chomping action. All just by moving the tail. That is pretty cool. Over here, we've got a darker gray colored T-Rex with some brown on the top. This is also by Jurassic World, and you can twist the neck around, you can open the jaw, there's a button on top, activate the chomping, and you can swivel the tail around and move the legs as well. I think this one's bigger than the rest of them. This T-Rex has one of my favorite functions. It's actually battery operated, so that when you press the button on its tail, it opens its mouth and shakes. It actually has a motor in it to do that, which is pretty cool. Plus, you can move the tail around to swing its neck around to look. That's really cool. This T-Rex was custom colored a long time ago. It's got the bright green on the side, and it's got like camo colors and black all over the rest of its body with the lighter underbelly. And just like that bright orange T-Rex we saw just a second ago, you can control chomping and roaring with this figure just by moving the tail around. Next up, we've got a light brown T-Rex from Jurassic World. This is very similar in function to the darker gray figure that we just saw. It has the chomping button on the top of its head. You can move its neck around, and you can adjust the rest of its body parts too. This is the extreme battle damage T-Rex from Jurassic World. It's got some different patterning along the top of its body compared to the rest of them, but the most important part is the battle damage on both sides that you can press this button up top to turn it on and off. Plus, the rest of the figure is very adjustable as well. Here's another T-Rex with some battle damage on it. It doesn't have the extreme battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off, but it does have these slashes all over its body, even its legs and its tail too. The rest of the figure is very adjustable, and of course, the button at the top of the head for chomping. Next up, we've got another custom colored T-Rex. This one is a super bright red color. Looks kind of like fire in my opinion, and it's got the black on the top and the orange striping right along the sides. And this figure is adjustable just like many of the other figures that I've shown so far too. Next up, we've got another bright orange T-Rex with the brown top. This figure is fully adjustable throughout its body, and it's got the chomp button at the top of its head. Here's one of my favorite T-Rexes. This is a dark green color, and I'm not sure that I have any other green colored T-Rexes in my collection, so this one's pretty special to me. It's also got the black detailing along the top, and its body is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, arms, and neck, and there's the button at the top of its head for chomping. Let's keep going. We still got quite a few T-Rexes to go. This T-Rex is from the old Jurassic World toy line. It's got a rubberized neck, so it's a bit flexible there, as well as the rubberized tail. And it has a chomping action with the tail. Now we're getting down to some slightly smaller T-Rex figures. This is a Jurassic World T-Rex, and it is actually a hybrid. It's got some spikes on the top of its head that you can push down and activate them by pressing the button on its back. Here is another custom colored T-Rex from the old Jurassic World toy line. It is bright red in color with black spots all over and the yellow underbelly. And it also has a chomping action on its back. Here's another similar T-Rex from the old Jurassic World toy line. This T-Rex is light tan in color all over its body. It's a little bit lighter on its belly. And just like the other two that we just saw, it has the chomping action button on its back. All right, this next T-Rex is a little bit smaller. This is a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe it's a juvenile T-Rex, and it's actually got some battle damage right on the side. Next up, we've got a new Jurassic World Dominion figure. This, I believe, is the Sound Surge T-Rex. It's pretty small in size, and you have to open and close its jaw manually, but it does come with some awesome sound effects. And we've got some model T-Rexes in here. I'm not sure what brand this is from, and you can't move any of the limbs or the jaw on this figure, but it's got the dark brown coloring. It's got some interesting shading and black stripes all over its body. Here is another dark brown model T-Rex, but on this one you can open and close its jaw. It's also got the black stripes and the lighter underbelly too. Check out that little bit of yellow right there on its nose. It's interesting. Here is a dark green model T-Rex. This one, you cannot move any of its body parts, so it is standing in this awesome roaring pose, just like I'm sure you've seen in the movies. Here is a bright orange or red model T-Rex. With this figure, you can open and close the jaw. Check out all those little teeth. And this figure looks quite a bit more muscular than a lot of the T-Rexes, I will say. Here is a super bright model T-Rex. It's got the bright blue along the top of its body, as well as the gold stripes. It's got a gray underbelly and some teal coloring right along its face. Here is a darker model T-Rex. I love the attention to detail with the skin. It's like you can see all these little bumps all over its body. It's got the black stripes as well, and on this model you can open and close its mouth. Here is a super striped T-Rex. This has some really bold black stripes right along the top of its body, while the rest of its body is this soft tan or orange color. And it's got some super bright yellow eyes too. And unfortunately, you cannot move any of the body parts on this model. Next up, we've got a light green colored T-Rex with some darker shading and detailing along its body. You can see those bumps right along its spine. And this figure does not have any moving parts either, so it is stuck in this roaring pose. We've got some even smaller T-Rexes in here. Here is a Jurassic World T-Rex that is pretty small. It's probably 7 inches from tail to the nose, and it fits easily in my hand. It's got some battle damage on the side, and the tail controls the jaw and face. We've actually got a few more Jurassic World T-Rexes just like that last one. This first one is actually a hybrid T-Rex. It is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, as you can tell by these huge frills on the front. It's still got the battle damage on the side, and it's got this reflective gold along the top of its body and the very front too. And this T-Rex has a bright green body. It's got the battle damage on the side still, and some darker detailing right along its face. This T-Rex figure is from Jurassic Park, so this is a super old figure. It's got some interesting purple detailing along the top. It's got a tan body, and actually, this figure has a unique feature on the leg. You can actually bend it like that, because it is a broken leg for this T-Rex. Right over here, we've got another juvenile T-Rex. This one has a bandage on its leg and the restraint on its mouth, so it can't bite people. It is super bright green with some cool detailing along the back and is very adjustable with all of its limbs too. This baby T-Rex is also from Jurassic World. It is bright green or yellow in color with some detailing along the top. And when you pull down on the tail, it chomps its jaws shut. All right, we've got some super small T-Rexes in here. I believe this one is from Jurassic World. I'm not sure actually, but they are both brown in color. This one is very adjustable. You can even move the tail around, you can move the legs and open and close the jaw. But this figure doesn't have any moving parts actually. And our last two T-Rexes of this collection from biggest to smallest. We've got a bright blue T-Rex with black stripes and no movable body parts. And this T-Rex here can move the legs, you can twist the tail around, and you can open and close the jaw too. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today I've got all my Jurassic World Dominion figures, and I've even got some new ones that we're gonna open up. I've got this empty space on my shelf, so today we are going to do a Jurassic World Dominion shelf build. The first that I'm gonna put on the shelf is the Spinosaurus. This figure is mostly black, but it's got some green and it's got a red stripe down its back. So let's put that on the lower shelf right here. The next one is this huge Giganotosaurus figure. This figure has the iconic soft green color with the black detailing along its back. It's got that huge spine and those really cool looking teeth. And this figure actually has two action buttons. The first is with this button on top that swings the torso back and forth. And the second is a button on the bottom of its tail used for opening and closing its mouth. So let's put that on the right side of the lower shelf. I've also got a smaller Giganotosaurus figure here. This is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. So as you'll notice, quite a bit smaller than this one right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it right next to the larger one. In the back here, I've got a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This figure is a lot darker color than a lot of the other T-Rexes that you'll see I have on the shelves over here, but it still has the same awesome button on its tail to control the jaw. And you can use the tail to twist the torso around too. So let's go ahead and put this right next to the Giganotosauruses. Why don't we go ahead and open up these ones that I bought for this video. This first brand new one, I believe is pronounced an Ichthyovenator. Wow, that's a long word. But let's open it up and check it out. Here it is out of the box. It's got a dark green body, but a super bright lime green tail and spine on top of its back. This figure also has an action button that when you press down on its body, it does the chomping action. And it's got some sound effects too. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put this on the higher shelf right up here. Next, I've got the Extreme Damage Allosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. I'm super excited about this one. I've been waiting to get my hands on this one. This is probably my biggest Allosaurus figure. I have other Allosauruses that are similar colors as this, but none of them have this awesome battle damage on the side. As you can see, you can actually lift the rib cage up to reveal the stomach beneath it, or you can close it all the way to make it not have any battle damage at all. That is super cool. Plus, I believe it has one action button on its back for the jaw. Oh, check out that blue tongue too. That is pretty cool. So let's put this Allosaurus right next to the Therizinosaurus on the lower shelf. Next, I've got the Roar Strikers Sinoceratops. Let's check it out. I do have a few other Sinoceratops figures, but this one has totally different coloring. It's got this super bright yellow tail, the soft green body, the big horn in the front, and those black eyes. I think that's a really unique choice for a dinosaur like this. So let's put this Sinoceratops on the top shelf right there. And last of the new dinosaurs that I'm going to unbox is this tiny little Therizinosaurus. This is a very small Therizinosaurus figure, but it's still pretty cool. Of course, it's got the iconic huge claws in its hands. You'll notice
that it's a dark color, unlike the large ones that are a gray color. But other than that, it has some pretty similar coloring with the larger Therizinosaurus. So why don't we put it right next to the larger one, right there. Next up, we've got the Megaraptor with the red back and the dark blue front. And it's got some white detailing on the tip of its face too. And check out those orange eyes. That's pretty cool. And this figure has an action. It chomps when you press down on its back. So let's put this on the higher shelf right up here. This is a Pyroraptor with the red body and the black legs, tail, and face. It looks pretty evil, I will say. It's got like almost like a mischievous grin on its face almost. I'm gonna put this Pyroraptor right next to the extreme battle damage Allosaurus. This is the Rajasaurus. I've bought this figure really recently. It's got the dark blue body and some lighter detailing on its neck and under its chin too. Let's put this right next to the Therizinosaurus. And I do believe I actually have another Rajasaurus in here. Yep, here it is. This one is brown with some blue detailing on its back and neck. So it is totally different from this other Rajasaurus that we have. But I'm gonna put them side by side. This next Jurassic World Dominion figure is the Ankylosaurus. It's got the clay red body and this super long neck, and you can use the button on its tail to open and close its mouth. Let's put the Ankylosaurus right next to the Sinoceratops. Here we've got two identical Atrociraptor figures, but one is miniature and one is a lot larger. So let's check out this first one. This is a basic figure, so you can't move it too much, and the jaw doesn't open and close, but it still is a great display figure. So let's put this right next to the Megaraptor. And let's take this little Atrociraptor figure and put it right next to the larger one too. Next up is the Yangchuanosaurus with the green body and the brown and red detailing. Let's put this dinosaur right next to this T-Rex here. This is a pretty cool looking dinosaur. This is the Siamosaurus. It's got the red spine and red face, and the rest of its body is a dark blue color. Let's put this dinosaur right next to the Ankylosaurus. This is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is a bit smaller of a figure than many T-Rex figures, but it still has some pretty awesome sound effects. Let's go ahead and put this T-Rex actually right next to this other T-Rex. So we need to move this Yangchuanosaurus and put this T-Rex down right in between. Here we have an Iguanodon figure. This figure is tan, dark brown, and it has some lighter detailing on its back, and it has an action when you press down on its body. It moves its neck up and down. Let's put this Iguanodon right next to the Siamosaurus. I've got a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. This one is bright orange, so a bit different coloring than the ones that we saw earlier, and it also has some sound effects that come with it too. Let's put this Atrociraptor actually on the very tall shelf. I've got some space up here too. Here is another Rowdy Roars figure. This is the Dilophosaurus figure, and it also comes with sound effects as well. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put this also on the very top shelf. This is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. So it is super posable and a bit more detailed than normal. And it's also got some cool coloring with the gray and the white and the dark blue on top. Let's put this Baryonyx right next to these Atrociraptors. Here is a miniature Carnotaurus figure. It's got the dark green and orange body. That's pretty cool. Let's put this figure right in front of the big Giganotosaurus figure. See if we can fit it in. Right there. Let's see what else we got. We got another Atrociraptor figure. This one is tan with brown striping. So let's go ahead and put this right next to the other Atrociraptors. And I've also got a few extreme battle damage figures in here too. This first one is a Velociraptor with battle damage on the side. Let's put this one right next to the Baryonyx figure. I've also got the extreme battle damage Coeloris figure. Let's put this figure right in front of the Ichthyovenator on this top shelf. And I've also got the extreme battle damage Dimetrodon figure. It's got the light green body and the orange spine. Let's put this figure right in between the Yangchuanosaurus and the Rajasaurus. Next up, I've got the Moros Intrepidus figure with the green body and the orange tail and orange stripe. I'm gonna put this dinosaur right next to the Iguanodon figure. And next is the Miragaia figure. This figure is darker colored. It's got some black and a dark blue-green color in the back. And it's got those huge spikes coming out of its shoulders too. Let's put this figure right next to the extreme battle damage Velociraptor. And last but not least, I've got these 3 super colossal figures. Let's first put this huge Giganotosaurus figure and put him up at the top of the shelf up here. There we go. That is a huge figure. Next, I've got the Atrociraptor with brown striping, and you'll see on this one that there's 2 tones of brown color on it. And I'm gonna take this figure and put it up on the top of this shelf to the left over here. That's pretty cool. So now it's like the Atrociraptor and Giganotosaurus are fighting. And finally, I've got the Tyrannosaurus Rex figure, and I'm gonna put this figure down below on this lower shelf next to these other super colossal figures. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today I am repainting 5 Jurassic World dinosaur figures. I've got a T-Rex, an Velociraptor, a Pyroraptor, and more, so let's get started. The first dinosaur figure is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. As you can see, the original painting was brown with some gray detailing on top, so let's see if we can spice that up a little bit. After I got it all primed up, I started with a soft tan color for the underbelly, which is typical for what you'd see in many T-Rex figures. Next, and my favorite part of this T-Rex, I painted the upper body, the head, and legs a jungle green color. I'm super excited for this one as I don't have that many green T-Rexes yet. I think I only have one other. I wanted to make this dinosaur figure look pretty realistic with a camouflage and natural look, so I took a lot of care to blend in the green into the tan for this one. Then, to bring some texture to all those green parts, I dry brushed a soft brown color to bring out all the texture and wrinkles of its skin. For the mouth, I chose a dark pink color. Looks like I forgot to prime some of the mouth. Whoops. Then for the darkest color of this T-Rex, I chose a dark brown to go from the top of the head all the way down to the tail. This will be the last major color for this dinosaur. I also used the brown to paint down the side of the body in random patterns and stripes to make it look a little more realistic, as well as on the front of the legs, which I really thought brought the whole body together. And of course, I brought some of that dark brown onto the face too, especially around the eyes to give it more shading and detail. Then I took a brush and dry brushed a light gray color onto all the brown areas to give that a little bit more texture. I think this made it look a whole lot more realistic and looks a lot better than just the flat brown color. Then for the eyes, after I added another white base, I painted the eyes a yellow color with narrow pupils. I wanted this T-Rex to look intimidating, but not too scary. And for the final touches, I painted the teeth sparkling white and the nails a dark, dark black. And there we are, it is all done. I'm really happy with this T-Rex, and like I said, I'm super excited to add another green T-Rex to my collection. Next up is the Velociraptor figure from the new Jurassic World Dominion series. This figure has the iconic coloring already. I'm sure you recognize it from the movie, but I wanted to replace it with something much more bright and eye-grabbing. So to start it off, I colored the entire dinosaur in a bright yellow color. This will be the base coat for my design. For the next layer, I chose an orange color to paint along the top of the yellow from the head all the way to the tip of the tail. And also on parts of the legs and the arms. It's a pretty similar color to the yellow because I want it to smoothly fade from the yellow into the orange and to the next color that I'll be adding on. Next, for the coolest and most dramatic color of this dinosaur, I added brown to the very top of the body and around the eyes, and I added random stripes going down the sides of the body. It's a pretty dramatic look, and I'm really happy with how it came out. Now that all the big colors are done, I took a lighter brown color and dry brushed all along the lighter parts of its body. Look at how it brings out the texture of its skin all over. For the final touches, I painted all the claws black and the eyes blood red. These dinosaurs are pretty scary in the movie, and I think red eyes are the perfect color to reflect that. That, the Velociraptor, is all done. Look at how bright it is. This is one of my favorite dinosaurs that I've painted, and I really think it'll pop out from all the other dinosaur figures on my display shelf. Next up is the Jurassic World Dominion Triceratops. The original had a green and brown color combo, and I wanted to switch that up with something entirely different. First, to start off, I painted the belly and the entire underside a light pink color. What color do you think I'm going to combo this color with? If you guessed gray, then you are correct. I had seen a Stegosaurus figure painted a similar way and wanted to try it out for myself. I used this gray to color the entire rest of the body. I'll be doing a few more colors throughout though. Next, to add some more variance to its body, I used a darker gray color all along the top of the body and along the top of the bony frill behind its head. I'm really happy with how this frill is turning out. I chose a light tan color for the horns and the mouth. This is pretty similar to the original. Since these are bony parts of the body, I just think that this color works great with it. I chose a white color for all the toes on its feet and a green color for its tiny little eyes. This is a really tricky part because they're so small, but I think it turned out pretty good. And just a tiny little black dot for the pupils in its eyes. Now for the best part, I chose a bright red color for the bony parts sticking out of its frill because I wanted these to stand out and be the highlight of this Triceratops. I wanted to bring a little bit more red to the body as well, so I also dry brushed that same red color onto the back of the Triceratops. It's pretty subtle though, it's only just enough to make it look a tiny bit more red. And that's it! This one turned out super cool. I really like how the light pink, the gray, and the red all fit together. This is the Sarcophagus figure from Jurassic World. It's not too bad with the painting originally, but let's see if we can spice it up a bit. I started by painting the belly a lime green color. Many dinosaurs, as I'm sure you've noticed already, have lighter underbellies. Next, I painted a camo green color to the sides. This will help it blend into a swamp or jungle setting. Then for the very top of the dinosaur, I chose a dark brown color. And this color went all the way to the tip of the tail. I bet if this dinosaur was in the water, other dinosaurs probably wouldn't even see it because it looks like a log in the water. I also added some brown detailing around the eyes to help bring out the color of the eyes when I paint those in. Next, I painted the mouth a soft pink color. Then I added a darker pink wash to bring out the texture of the tongue and the other parts of the mouth. I'm a really big fan of dry brushing or adding a wash to a figure because this really brings out a lot of the texture. Then I chose a dark gray wash to add to the top of the dinosaur to bring out more texture there, although it is pretty subtle. I think it makes it look just a little bit more gritty, a little more dirtier like it would in real life. Then I added a brown wash to the belly and underside of the dinosaur to bring out the texture of that area and to make it look a bit more gritty too. Then I carefully painted all of the claws black. These weren't colored differently in the original version, but I wanted to bring more attention to them. And now for the super tricky part, painting the teeth. I chose a bright white color and I had to do multiple layers. I couldn't even count how many teeth there were on this Sarcophagus. And finally, I painted the eyes a bright white color to pop out from that brown background, and I chose to give this dinosaur narrow pupils as well. And there it is all finished. This is a super camouflaged dinosaur, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Pyroraptor figure. As you can see, originally it had some pretty basic coloring, nothing too special, it's just mostly red and black. So to start with my own design for this figure, I painted the feet, the hands, and some parts of the face a light gray color. These are parts of the dinosaur that didn't have that many feathers on them, so it's more of just a skin coloring. Now for the best part, I chose a bright fiery red for the bulk of the feathered body. In my opinion, this dinosaur is not meant to blend into its surroundings, so I really want to make it pop. I painted this red all over the torso, the tail, the arms, and a little patch on the leg right there where you can see the feathers. For the remaining parts of the body, I wanted to try a dark blue color to contrast that fiery red. I used this blue on the legs, on the belly, a little bit of the underside of the tail, and on the top of the head. Now, one thing I especially wanted to do was bring out the texture of those feathers all over its body. So I used a dark brown gray wash and I put that all over the red to really accentuate those feather designs. Then I blended the gray color of the skin into the other colors and also dry brushed the gray into the blue parts to bring out the texture of those areas. Those blue parts were pretty dark before, but with that gray on top, you can really see the texture. Next, I dry brushed a subtle yellow color near the neck to add some variance in the color, just enough to make it look different from the rest of the body. And for those huge feathers on the top of the head, I chose orange as a complementary color to the rest of the red, and I added a little bit of yellow at the top to bring out more texture of that big feather on the top. To match that feather on the top of its head, I used yellow for the eyes. And once again, I painted narrow black pupils to give it a more menacing look. For the final touch, I painted all the claws dark black for contrast and the teeth of bright white, since those weren't actually colored at all in the original version. And we're done! This is a pretty bright and wild looking dinosaur and totally different from the other ones I've painted so far, and quite a bit different from the original version.
Welcome back. Today I've got a ton of Allosauruses, Carnotauruses, and Spinosauruses, and I'm gonna be putting them all up on this empty space on my display shelves. Let's start with this big old custom colored Spinosaurus figure. This figure was custom painted a long time ago and has a ton more detail than a lot of the other Spinosaurus figures, and is one of my favorites because of that color coding. Let's grab some of these other Spinosauruses. This is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the tan and the red spine and red face. Why don't we put that one right next to the custom colored one, right over here. And here's another giant Spinosaurus figure. I believe this one is the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, so it's got different coloring than the Camp Cretaceous dinosaur, but it has the same red spine and the red face as well. Look at the color difference with their eyes. Next up, I actually just bought another custom colored Spinosaurus. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. All right, so this is a Hammond Collection Spinosaurus that has been custom colored by someone that I purchased from on eBay. It's still got the red spine, but it's got some cool blue coloring. It's got red along its back. It's got a bunch of white, pretty good detailing. This is really cool, and it's got some darker green eyes as well. So let's put this right in front of these bigger Spinosaurus figures. All right, let's dig into some of these Carnotaurus figures. This first one is one of the darker versions, so it's a brown with black spots on its back, and of course it's got the action button on its tail to open and close its mouth with sound effects too. So let's put this right here next to our Spinosaurus figures. And let's go ahead and grab some of these other Carnotaurus figures too. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Sound Surge Carnotaurus figure. There's a button right at the top that you can use to activate the sound effects. And you can see by putting them side by side the color difference between the two. This one is a lot brighter. And I've even got some more brighter ones in here too. This Carnotaurus is one of my brightest Carnotauruses. It's got a bright yellow and then it fades into the brown on the top. And just like the Carnotaurus on the far right, it also has the button on its tail for the chomping, and you can use its tail to move its head around too. I've still got quite a few Carnotaurus figures in here. This one is a darker red with almost purplish coloring along the top. And it's a bit smaller than these large Carnotaurus figures right here. Just a little bit smaller, and it has a different action. There's a button right at the top of its back for chomping its neck back and forth. It's a little stuck though. Let's see here, I think I've got some more Spinosaurus figures in here. This one is not made by Mattel, it's a model Spinosaurus. So it's got some pretty cool different coloring, but unfortunately you can't move any of the body parts. Let's see if we got a little bit more room up here. We might have to move the Carnotauruses over. Let's see if we can set this Spinosaurus down. Way down here is another Spinosaurus figure, another model, but with entirely different coloring. It's got the red spine, like many of these Spinosaurus figures, but it's got a much darker body. Let's set this down. I think we're gonna have to move the Carnotauruses, so I'm just gonna put this one here for now and move the Carnotauruses down to the next level. Let's see what else. Let's start with the Allosauruses. This is my biggest Allosaurus figure, and it is the extreme battle damage version from Jurassic World Dominion. Let's set this down on the far corner of the lower shelf. I've got my Carnotauruses already set up over here and the Spinosauruses on the next level. Let's go ahead and grab another Allosaurus figure. I've got a gray and yellow one.
A whole lot smaller than this Jurassic World Dominion figure, but still pretty cool. It has an action on its back for snapping the jaw. And moving right along, let's grab this Spinosaurus figure. This is an old one, a Jurassic Park Spinosaurus, so it looks way different compared to these new ones over here. Let's go ahead and set it down next to these model Spinosauruses. Right over here, we've got another Allosaurus figure. This one has the tan and two-toned blue coloring. It's got two actions on its back, one for clamping the jaw and one for swinging the arms. Set this down right next to the gray and yellow Allosaurus. Let's see, all right, another Carnotaurus figure. This is a model Carnotaurus figure. It's got some really cool coloring patterns, and it's got a bright orange face, which is unlike any of the Mattel figures. Let's put this Carnotaurus, much smaller, down right there. Here's another small Carnotaurus, but this one is made by Mattel. This is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. So it's got different coloring compared to the rest of the older Carnotaurus figures, and it's also got a broken horn. Right over here, we've got another old Jurassic Park figure, but this one is an Allosaurus figure. This one actually has battle damage that you can take on and off its body. It's really cool how you can remove them completely. Let's put this down right next to the other Allosaurus figures. Oh, you know what? I've got this huge Carnotaurus figure right here. This is the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro figure. It is ginormous, and you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs that'll go into its stomach compartment. I think this dinosaur will have to go on the very top shelf. That's the only place that has space, I think. Check it out, super tall. Here is another Spinosaurus figure. This one has the same coloring as the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, but is a lot smaller, and it's actually the basic version because you can't open and close its mouth. Looks like we've got some more model Carnotaurus figures. This one has some really cool spikes all along its back and some really interesting coloring as well. Let's set this down right in front of these larger Mattel Carnotauruses. Ooh, check out this Spinosaurus figure. This one is actually posed as if it's swimming through the water, which, if you know, Spinosauruses actually did hunt in the water. So this is pretty cool. Let's put this at the end. Looks like we got a little more space for a few more Spinosaurus figures. This Allosaurus figure is pretty recent. I believe it is a Camp Cretaceous Allosaurus and has the slide lever action for roaring and for moving the mouth. Well, looks like we're running out of room on the lower shelf. Hopefully we have enough space for the rest of the Allosauruses and Carnotauruses. Here's another model Carnotaurus figure. This one is like a green-yellow coloring. It still has some red detailing along the top, and it is in this really cool roaring pose. This might be the smallest Carnotaurus figure that I have on my shelf so far. Next up is another big old Allosaurus figure. I believe this one has pretty similar coloring to the extreme battle damage Allosaurus, but it has a slide lever action on its back for a bunch of different roars and chomping actions. I think we have enough space for one more Allosaurus right there. Perfect. Looks like we've got a juvenile Spinosaurus model figure right here. This one is by Papo. It's got some pretty cool detailing and coloring. You can still see some green along its spine right there. It's really cool. Now let's put this at the top shelf along with all the other Spinosaurus figures. Here's some figures that I don't show too often on the channel. This is a Snap Squad Spinosaurus by Jurassic World. It's a little itty bitty figure, and it actually has a spring-loaded mouth so you can clamp it onto stuff. But I just want to stand it up right here, so it's right next to all the other figures. Here's another Snap Squad figure, but this one is actually a Carnotaurus, and you can see that even this one has the battle damage right on the front of its face too. All right, looks like there's a little bit of space left. Let's see if we can stand this one up. There we go. And the remaining biggest figure is another Carnotaurus, but this one is gray, and it's almost like a gray-blue coloring. It's got some red right there on its neck, and some interesting bumps and texturing all over its body. All right, let's see where we can set this down. Maybe right here in the corner. All right, all that's left are these teeny tiny figures. These are both Spinosaurus figures from Jurassic World, and they are really small, but they have different coloring, which is pretty cool. You've got this gray and green one, as well as this brown and black Spinosaurus.
And the final figure for this shelf build is this Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World. And I think this actually came from McDonald's, so it was part of a Happy Meal or something. But it is officially part of Jurassic World. So let's put this down next to all the other Carnotaurus figures. Whoops, knocked over a few. Today, I'm gonna be showing you my collection of Stegosaurus, Dilophosaurus, and Baryonyx figures, and putting them up on this empty space on my shelf. I've even got a brand new set to unbox, but first of all, I wanna show you something I've never shown before. This is a vintage Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus statue. It's got a huge frill, and it's even got some plants at the base of it too. This is really cool, super old, and I'm gonna put this right here on this top shelf. Let's go ahead and dig into the rest of my Dilophosaurus figures. This first one is the basic red Dilophosaurus. You can actually open and close the frills, and it's got a huge yellow crown on the top of its head. So let's put this Dilophosaurus right over here on the Dilophosaurus shelf. Next up, I've got another basic but giant Dilophosaurus figure. This one is the teal green blue coloring with the bright red frills in the front and the bright red crown on the very top. Let's go ahead and put this next to my other giant basic Dilophosaurus figure. It's looking good already. Let's see what other Dilophosaurus figures I have in here. This one is another vintage figure. This is a Dilophosaurus without the frills, which I think is pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and set this one down on the shelf as well. Right over here, we've got a miniature Dilophosaurus figure with bright yellow and red frills, and it's got the green body as well. That's really cool. It's pretty small, but you can still open and close the frills too. And let's set this down right next to the other one. Next up is a gray Dilophosaurus with red and white on its frills. And this Dilophosaurus actually has an action that when you pull up on the tail, it'll open its mouth and open its frills too. Let's go ahead and set down this Dilophosaurus too. Next up is a bright purple Dilophosaurus with red, yellow, orange all over its frills and some red on its body as well. This figure is a little bit bigger, but it doesn't have any action buttons to activate the jaws or the frills. Let's see if we can fit this Dilophosaurus right in between the two large ones. Perfect. Right over here, we've got a green, orange, and yellow Dilophosaurus, and this one actually has the lever action that'll open its mouth and its frills. Look how fast that is too, that's really cool. Let's set this Dilophosaurus down right on the end here. Two more Dilophosauruses to go. Here is a dark green and black one, and it's got super bright red on its frills. And this figure is actually one of the new Jurassic World Dominion Dilophosauruses. So this is probably one of my most recent Dilophosaurus figures. And our last Dilophosaurus is another mini green Dilophosaurus, but this one has brown on its back, and it's got red and yellow on its frills too. This is looking great so far. All right, let's move on to the Stegosauruses. But first, let's actually open up this brand new Jurassic World set. This is the Dr. Sarah Harding and Stegosaurus pack. And the box is even designed to look like a truck, which is really cool. All right, so this set comes with 3 figures. It's first got the giant Stegosaurus figure with some pretty unique coloring. I don't have one with this coloring yet. It's also got a baby Stegosaurus right there, and of course, Dr. Sarah Harding on the side. Let's check out the giant Stegosaurus first. So it looks about the same as many of the other Stegosaurus figures, but it has this clay red coloring on the top
and then the green on the sides, and then a brown underbelly, which is really cool. And like many of the Stegosaurus figures, it has an action that when you press down here, it swings its tail back and forth. Next up is the baby Stegosaurus figure. It has similar coloring as the adult. It's got the green on the sides and the brown underbelly and the red on top, but is a whole lot smaller. And look at that, even the spikes on its tail are a lot smaller too. That's pretty cute. And here is Dr. Sarah Harding. She's even got a camera wrapped around her neck as well. It's pretty cool, taking photos of the Stegosauruses.
Bingo!
Let's put Dr. Harding and the baby Stegosaurus right next to the Dilophosaurus figures. This is where our Stegosaurus domain will start. And let's put the adult Stegosaurus right next to them. Look how big this Stegosaurus is in comparison to this baby Stegosaurus. All right, let's get the rest of these Stegosauruses up here. This first one is a vintage Jurassic Park Stegosaurus with a huge battle damage on its shoulder. And it's even got some similar coloring as to the Stegosauruses that I just opened up as well. So why don't we put this one right next to that one? Moving right along, we've got a light blue and green Stegosaurus figure. It's got some pretty good detailing on its side. It's got the darker green on the top. And this figure also has the action that swings its tail back and forth. Well, it looks like we're out of room on this shelf, so why don't we move down to this other shelf that I cleared out to make space. Right here, we've got a dark gray blue Stegosaurus with a light pink underbelly. It's totally different coloring, but this figure also has that same action that when you press down on its back, it swings its tail back and forth. 2 more Stegosauruses to go. Here is a green, brown, and tan Stegosaurus, and this one has a slightly different action. It still swings with its tail, but it actually swings its entire back torso, so it's different from the other Stegosaurus figures. So it's a pretty cool feature. Let's set this down right next to these other Stegosauruses. And here is the final Stegosaurus. It's got a light underbelly with brown on the sides and tan and green on the top. That is different from all the other ones that I have up here still. So let's set this one down right here at the end of the line. All right, that's all my Stegosauruses. Now, it's time for the final dinosaur, the Baryonyx figures. Let's start with this one right up front here. This is a battle damage Baryonyx with the brown and dark gray blue coloring on the top. Let's set this Baryonyx down right next to the Stegosauruses, and the rest of this shelf will be for only the Baryonyxes. Let's see what we've got next. Here is another battle damage Baryonyx. This one is actually the same as this one, so we're gonna put it in the back right here. Next up, we've got a bright green and brown Baryonyx, and of course it's got a button on its back to activate the jaw. Let's put this down right here on our Baryonyx shelf. Here is another Baryonyx figure, but this one has lighter green coloring, and it has only one shade of brown on its head. Plus, this figure has a slide lever action to activate the jaw and sound effects. Let's put this figure down right next to our other green Baryonyx. We've got another dark green Baryonyx figure here. This one is, I think, the same as the first green Baryonyx. So we're just gonna put this down in the back here. Next up, we've got a gray, dark blue, and light blue Baryonyx with the slide lever action on its back. So you can get a ton of different sound effects. This is the first gray Baryonyx figure on the shelf, so we're gonna put it right up front here. Here is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx. So this one has a bit more detailing and a whole lot more points of articulation on its body. This one is superposable. I really like this one, so why don't we put this on the front of the shelf as well. And this is our final large Baryonyx of the bin. This one has some super bright blue reflective paint on the top of its head, which I think is a really cool detail. And let's set this big Baryonyx down in the back here. And our last 2 Baryonyxes of the bin are these vintage Jurassic Park Baryonyx figures. These ones are totally different from the new Baryonyx figures that Mattel is releasing now. Look how different in size they are, but I'm gonna place this one right up front here. And let's grab our other vintage Jurassic Park Baryonyx and place it down right in front next to the other old Jurassic Park Baryonyx. And that is it. My new shelf displays are complete. I've got the Dilophosaurus, Stegosauruses, and finally the Baryonyxes. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World figures and putting them up on my empty shelves right over here. Got a lot of shelves to fill, so let's get started with the brand new Spinosaurus and the Snap Squads. First up is the Camp Cretaceous Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. Let's open this up. Alright, this is a huge figure. I have a few other Spinosauruses like this one. So the coloring's pretty realistic. It's not too crazy. It's brown on most of its body. It's got the red detailing on the spine, on the face. It's got those orange eyes. Its body is pretty adjustable. You can move the ankles, the legs, the tail, the arms. You can even adjust the neck like that, which is pretty cool. And it's got a button on the top of its head that you can use for chomping. Next up is the Camp Cretaceous Snap Squad Spinosaurus. This is a little one. You can still see that iconic spine right there. Let's open it up. As you can see, most of its limbs are pretty loose, so they actually just dangle there. And that is because you can snap this onto something and then it'll just dangle there. And just like the big Spinosaurus that we saw, this one has those dark orange eyes too. Let's check out our other Snap Squad figures. Next up is the Triceratops from the Snap Squad series. This figure is a dark red, kind of like a maroon color. It's got the yellow eyes and the yellow detailing right on the front. It's got the 3 horns, and just like the other, its legs are dangly, so that when you snap it onto something, its legs will dangle like that. And last but not least, the Snap Squad Carnotaurus, one of my favorite dinosaurs. Let's get this opened up. All right, here it is. This Carnotaurus has a lighter color than most of the Carnotaurus figures I have. You can see it's got a light brown and then dark brown on the top. But like all the other Carnotauruses I have, you can see it's got the battle damage right there on its nose. That's really cool. All right, let's put all these new figures on the shelf. Let's start with the Spinosaurus, right in the dead center of this empty shelf right here. These Spinosauruses are usually pretty hard to balance, but this one's working out. And let's snap these Snap Squad figures right next to the Spinosaurus. Gonna hang the Carnotaurus upside down, right on the shelf. This little Spinosaurus, I think I'll attach to the big one, right on its hand. And the Triceratops, where should we put that one? Ooh, I know. Let's hang it right on the banner right here. Ha, that's actually pretty cool. Let's fill up my shelves with the rest of these Camp Cretaceous figures. Let's start with this Ceratosaurus right here. This is gray and red mostly. You can see it's got some brown detailing on it, and it's got an action button for its jaws. That is really cool. Just put it front and center, right next to the Spinosaurus. Here we've got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is like a brown-orange color. You can see it's got a button on the top to control its jaw. And you can adjust the neck, just like the Spinosaurus. And you can also adjust the rest of the limbs, too. Let's put this one on this right shelf, right in the center. Next up, a huge Indominus Rex with battle damage on the side. This is the battle damage that you can turn on and off with the button. That is super cool. And still, the rest of the figure is pretty adjustable. You can adjust the legs and the arms.
and the neck too. And there's the action button on its tail to control its face. Let's put this Indominus Rex right next to the Spinosaurus, right in the middle. There we go. Here is another T-Rex. This T-Rex, when you move the tail, it controls the head. So it looks pretty realistic. This T-Rex is brown in color as well. You can see the browner stripe right along the top of its body and a light underbelly. There we go, two T-Rexes side by side. Here is a slightly smaller carnivore. This is the Carnotaurus. And just like the Snap Squad figure that we saw earlier, you can see that battle damage right on its nose. How cool is that? And it's pretty detailed on its body. You can see there's black specks all over its mostly red body with a lighter underbelly. So let's find a place for this on the shelf. Let's go over to this side right here. Put it right next to this Velociraptor. Here's another giant Indominus Rex, but check out the coloring on this. This is totally different than the gray one that we have over there. This is a custom colored one. So it's got blue, purple, orange, and black, plus those green eyes right there. That is really cool. Let's find a spot for this on the shelf. Let's put it on the other side of the Spinosaurus. All right, there it is. This first shelf is looking pretty full already. Check this one out. This is a gray and yellow Allosaurus, I believe. Look at that action button right on its back to control its jaw. This is pretty cool. And it's a fully adjustable body as well. Let's put these right next to the T-Rexes. Here is a T-Rex with a very special feature. With this action button, you can see that it has a tearing action. That is pretty unique. Not that many figures that I have do that. So let's find a place for this right next to the Carnotaurus. Here is an herbivore. This is a Triceratops. It's a red maroon color with brown detailing on the top, and it's got an action button that you can press to roar. Seems like the sound effects aren't really working right now, but this is a pretty detailed figure. Looks like a little discoloration on its leg right there. Or maybe that's intentional. I actually can't tell. Let's put this on this higher up shelf right here. And we've still got a few more T-Rexes in here. This one is a battle damage, just like the Indominus Rex that we saw earlier. And press the button to turn the battle damage on and off. And this T-Rex is fully posable, so when you open its mouth, it actually stays open. You don't have to press a button. Let's put this right next to this other Terran T-Rex right here. There we go, got a little more space. Here is, I believe, another Allosaurus. This Allosaurus, though, is yellow with blue coloring all over its body. You can see that there's two different tones of blue. Got the light blue and the dark blue. Plus the two action buttons on its back. One to control the jaw and one to control the arms. Let's put this right next to this other Allosaurus. All right, looking awesome. Here is a Baryonyx. This has probably one of my favorite colorings of the Baryonyx figures that I have. Two tones of green, got the dark green in the front and the bright green in the back. Got some yellow detailing and some red right next to its eyes. Let's put this right next to the Triceratops up top here. Here's a weird looking dinosaur. This is a Sarcophagus. It's got a dark purple, it's got some orange, got red, and then the rest of its body is like a blue-gray color. You can move all of its legs, and it's pretty adjustable actually, and you can move the tail to control the head. Let's put this right in between the Spinosaurus and the Indominus Rex. Oh, we've got another T-Rex right here. This T-Rex I don't think has battle damage or anything like that, so this is just a normal T-Rex. It's got the button on the top of its head for the roaring action. Let's put this T-Rex right next to the other T-Rexes. Here's an interesting looking herbivore. This is a Kentrosaurus. Check out those huge spikes right along its shoulders, as well as the spikes on its tail, just like a Stegosaurus. And this Kentrosaurus has a sliding action to swing those spikes back and forth. That is really cool. Let's put this right next to the Baryonyx up top right here. Here's another Baryonyx. This one has bright orange detailing right on the top of its head. The rest of its body is brown and a dark gray blue color right along the top. Let's check out this action button too. Let's put it next to these T-Rexes and Carnotaurus right here. This dinosaur, I believe, is an Ouranosaurus. It's pretty unique in its shape and color. Look at that bright blue right along its mouth. It's got some yellow on its spine, and it's got a light underbelly as well. Plus, this Ouranosaurus has a slide action. All right, let's find a place for this. Let's put it right next to the Sarcophagus, right up front. Here is another herbivore. This is a Sinoceratops. You can see it looks pretty similar to the Triceratops, but the big difference is in its horns and its face. Plus, it's got an action button on the back to control its head as well. Let's put this Sinoceratops right next to the Kentrosaurus, right up top. Here's another predator. This is a medium-sized figure, and this is the Metriacanthosaurus. It's got the action button on its back to control its jaw, and the rest of its body is like a yellow-green color and darker green along the top. Let's put this right in front of these T-Rexes right over here. Here's another predator. This is an Albertosaurus. This dinosaur has an all-green body with orange detailing right along its back, all the way up to its head. And this figure has the action button on its tail to control its jaw. Next up is a Ceratosaurus with dark green coloring and black detailing along its back. And this Ceratosaurus has the slide action to open and close its jaw in multiple degrees. Let's put this Ceratosaurus right next to the other one, right here. Next up, we've got another mighty Triceratops with a brown body and two tones of blue. You got the dark blue in the back and the light blue in the front. And with this Triceratops, you can actually control the head with the tail. You can twist it back and forth. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you can control its head. Let's put this Triceratops right next to the Sinoceratops. Here's a different looking dinosaur. This is the Suchomimus. It's got a super long and narrow snout. This dinosaur is blue and yellow in color, and it has one action button that you press to control the head. Let's put this Suchomimus next to, you know what? Let's put him on this lower shelf, right next to Godzilla. Over here, we've got a small little one. This is Ankylosaurus bumpy. And as you can see, we've actually got a full-size Ankylosaurus with the same coloring as Bumpy. Let's check both of these out. So Bumpy's pretty small, doesn't have any action buttons, but you can adjust the head and the legs and the tail as well. But the adult one has an action on it. Let's check that out. Just like many of the other figures we've seen, this Ankylosaurus has a slide action on its back. And can you guess what that does? It swings its tail around. That is really cool. Let's put these Ankylosauruses right on the shelf. Check it out, it is another Carnotaurus. This one is more brightly colored than the other ones that we've seen. You can see all those bumps and spikes on its back. It's got the dark brown on the top, and it's like a red-orange on the sides and a gray underbelly.
Let's put this Carnotaurus right next to these T-Rexes right over here. This is looking pretty awesome. This is like the carnivore shelf so far. Here we've got another Albertosaurus, but this one has battle damage. You can see it's got the stomach. It's actually pretty squishy. Then you can slide down the ribs and they click in place. And then you can actually cover it up all the way. Let's put this Albertosaurus right next to the other one. Here's another big figure. This is a Stegosaurus with a mostly green body and some brown and tan detailing. That is really cool. Let's put this Stegosaurus next to these Ankylosauruses down here. Alright, we've got even another Allosaurus with the slide action for its jaw. This figure is a dark green color all around its body, and it's got the light tan and red detailing right along its neck, and those red eyes too. Let's put this dinosaur next to this Indominus Rex, right in the front. Here is our last medium-sized dinosaur of the bin. This is a Baryonyx, and it's got green on the belly and sides, and then 2 tones of brown. Got the light brown in the back and the dark brown in the front, and more light brown right on top of its head too. Let's put this Baryonyx right next to this Baryonyx over here. All right, that shelf is just about full. Let's go ahead and grab these Velociraptors. I got 1, 2, and 3. Check out the different coloring on these. We've got a bright red and green Velociraptor. We've got a dark gray and yellow Velociraptor. And we've also got a bright orange, yellow, and brown Velociraptor. Let's put all of these Velociraptors together on this front shelf right here. Second one right here. And the third one right here. Right next to the Atrociraptor. Got some interesting looking smaller dinosaurs. I believe this is a Protoceratops. This one is a super light green on its side and the yellow detailing all over its body. Let's put this Protoceratops right here. Next up, we've got a dark red Minmi with spikes all over its top. Let's put this dinosaur right in the front, right in front of the Spinosaurus. Over here, we've got a Zuniceratops. It's got the 2 spikes in the front, and it's got a bright green body with the dark gray-blue coloring on the top and all in the front too. Let's put this Zuniceratops right in front of this Triceratops right here. Check out the spikes on this Sauropelta. It's got a bright red body along the top with brown on the bottom. Let's put this Sauropelta right in front of the Indominus Rex. I believe this dinosaur is a Monolophosaurus. This dinosaur has a light brown body with gray detailing on the top and on its feet too. Let's put this dinosaur right up top here next to the Pyroraptor. Here is a winged dinosaur with battle damage on its wing. That's interesting. This, I believe, is a Pteranodon. Let's put this Pteranodon on top of the Indominus Rex. I think it'll rest there really good. Just a few more dinosaurs left. This is a Tanystropheus. This dinosaur lives in the water. And this figure has an action. When you pull down on the tail, it moves its neck up and down. Let's put this dinosaur way over here next to the Triceratops. Here is another winged dinosaur. This is a Dimorphodon. This dinosaur has a shorter snout compared to the Pteranodon, and you can see that it's got some dark red or maroon coloring right on the underside of its wings. Let's put this flying dinosaur right up top. This T-Rex right here. Next up, we've got a bright green Dracorex with gray striping along the top of its body. It's got a bunch of horns on its head. You can adjust the neck, the head, the arms, and the legs. I think you can twist the tail too. Let's put this Dracorex right next to this Mini. Here is a Stygimoloch. This dinosaur is a orange-red color along its body with darker detailing along all of its body. It's got the light underbelly, it's got the horns on its head, and of course the super hard head for headbutting. And our last dinosaur is a Gallimimus. This dinosaur is a light tan along its body. You can see it's got some striping on the top. Plus, it's got an action button to move the legs back and forth for running. Let's put this right next to the Stygimoloch up top here. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.